The Gilded Age. Season 3 might be over, but the drama is far from finished. In fact, the finale left us with more questions than answers, and now all eyes are on Season 4 to deliver the next round of betrayals, romances, and power struggles that define New York's elite. From Bertha's crumbling marriage to George, to Peggy and Kirkland's fragile engagement, to Marion and Larry's wedding plans that could either heal or destroy the Russell family forever, Season 4 promises to be nothing short of explosive. And with HBO already confirming the new season, fans are buzzing about what comes next. So let's break down everything we know: the release date, the shocking plot twists, and the high-stakes drama waiting for us in the Gilded Age Season 4. Season 3 ended in a whirlwind that changed the balance of power for almost every major character, and those final moments were not just emotional, they were game-changing. Let's start with Bertha, because once again, she is at the center of everything. She fought tooth and nail this past season to cement her place among New York's elite, and by most accounts, she succeeded. Her daughter Gladys is happily married and expecting a child, and Bertha has carved out a social empire that no one can easily topple. But the one thing she couldn't control, the one thing slipping through her fingers, is George. Their marriage, once one of the most unshakable unions in the show, was left in shambles. In the closing moments of the season, George revealed his bitterness and disappointment in Bertha, and he even confessed that he might not love her anymore. That single confession shifted the tone of the entire season, transforming Bertha from the ultimate victor into the ultimate loser in just seconds. Now heading into Season 4, her personal life will be her greatest battlefield. She has fought rivals in drawing rooms, banquets, and opera houses, but now the war is inside her own home. And let's be honest, this might be the biggest fight of her life. George, meanwhile, is stepping into Season 4 as a man with nothing to lose, and that makes him dangerous. In Season 3, he risked everything when he over-leveraged his railroad company and nearly lost it all. He even survived an assassination attempt that left fans shocked and gasping. Shot by an unknown enemy, George was pulled back from the brink of death thanks to Dr. Kirkland and Marion's unexpected bravery. But instead of healing his marriage or softening his bitterness, this near-death experience only hardened his resolve. In Season 4, George is expected to throw himself fully into uncovering the identity of the shooter, no matter the cost. This storyline alone promises to be one of the most thrilling and suspenseful parts of the new season, because George's enemies are not just random strangers. They are powerful figures with their own agendas, and if he pushes too far, he could end up losing far more than just his company. For Bertha, this means living in constant fear, knowing that the husband she is desperate to win back is chasing ghosts that may kill him. But the most shocking rumor swirling around Season 4 is that George may not face this battle alone. Whispers suggest that a new woman may step into his life, not just as a confidant, but as a rival love interest to Bertha. If that turns out to be true, then Bertha's already fragile position could collapse entirely. Her entire identity is built around ambition, appearances, and control, and nothing would cut deeper than the humiliation of losing her husband to another woman. And what makes this even worse is that this rumored woman is not just anyone. Some say Mrs. Winterton herself, the former maid who clawed her way into society, could return as George's possible companion. If that happens, it would ignite a rivalry more intense than anything we've seen yet. Bertha versus Mrs. Winterton would not just be a personal grudge, but a full-on war for dominance in society's highest ranks. And Oscar, who has foolishly tied himself to Mrs. Winterton, could find himself caught in the crossfire, putting his reputation and his family's stability at risk. Meanwhile, Peggy finally received the romantic glow she has been waiting for when Dr. Kirkland proposed to her in front of Newport's black elite and his formidable mother. It was one of the most heartwarming moments of Season 3, a rare ray of light in a world full of betrayal and ambition. But fans know better than to expect smooth sailing. Dr. Kirkland's mother is not done interfering, and Season 4 will put Peggy through yet another emotional trial as she fights to protect her happiness. Will she finally get her happily ever after, or will society's prejudices and family meddling tear her dream apart once again? This storyline adds both romance and heartbreak, a reminder that even love is never simple in the Gilded Age. And then there's Marion and Larry. the slow burn couple who finally patched things up after a season of melodrama. Their reconciliation felt like a calm in the storm, a moment of peace that hinted at the possibility of stability. In season 4, their wedding is set to become the centerpiece of the entire story. But don't be fooled into thinking it will be simple. Rumors suggest the wedding will not take place until the season finale, meaning the entire season will be consumed with preparations, complications, and obstacles. This wedding is not just about Marion and Larry, it's about the Russell family itself. It's about healing divisions, restoring unity, and maybe even saving George and Bertha's marriage in the process. If Bertha plays her cards right, she could use Marion as a bridge to Larry, securing not only her son-in-law's loyalty, but also finding a way to reconnect with George. This is why fans are calling it the wedding that could save the Russells. But weddings in the Gilded Age are never just about love. They are about power, appearances, and social positioning. And if things go wrong, this wedding could just as easily destroy the Russells as it could save them. All of this sets the stage for what promises to be a thrilling season 4, filled with betrayal, romance, and suspense. From George's dangerous investigation, to Bertha's desperate fight to reclaim her marriage, to the looming threat of Mrs. Winterton, to the wedding that could unite or ruin the Russells forever, there has never been more at stake. The Gilded Age is about to test its characters like never before, and if history has taught us anything, it's that not everyone will survive unscathed. Section 2, Bertha's fight for George and the rise of a rival. If there's one storyline that fans can't stop speculating about, it's the fragile state of Bertha and George's marriage. For 3 seasons, their union has been the backbone of the Russell Empire. Together, they've conquered financial scandals, social barriers, and vicious rivals, always coming out stronger than before. But season 3 broke that illusion. George's confession that his love for Bertha may have faded was more than just a personal heartbreak. It was a devastating blow to Bertha's carefully constructed empire. Because without George, Bertha is vulnerable. Her wealth may buy her a seat at society's table, but it's George's power that makes her untouchable. And if George decides to walk away, Bertha could lose everything she has fought for. Season 4 is set to put Bertha in the most dangerous position of her life. For the first time, she will not be facing her enemies from a position of strength, but from a place of desperation. She will attempt to win George back, compromising on her ruthless ambitions and trying to prove that she can be the wife he wants her to be. But Bertha has never been one to bow her head, and trying to soften herself for George will not come naturally. Her very identity is built on ambition, strategy, and control. Asking her to give that up is like asking her to stop breathing. And that's where the tension lies. Can Bertha truly change, or will her desire for dominance always come first? Making matters worse, the rumors of a rival woman circling George add another layer of chaos. If Mrs. Winterton is indeed the one to step into George's life, then Bertha's nightmare has just begun. Mrs. Winterton is not only ambitious, she is ruthless, manipulative, and hungry for power. As a former maid-turned-social climber, she has already proven that she'll do whatever it takes to rise above her station, no matter who gets crushed in the process. For her, George is not just a potential love interest. He is a golden ticket to the highest levels of society, and Bertha's greatest prize. If this rivalry comes to pass, it won't just be a battle of hearts, it will be a battle of empires. And the stakes are higher than ever, because if Bertha loses George to a woman like Mrs. Winterton, it would not only destroy her marriage, but humiliate her in front of the entire elite circle she worked so hard to dominate. And then there's Oscar, who continues to make the kind of decisions that leave fans yelling at their screens. His alliance with Mrs. Winterton may go down as one of the worst moves of his life. By tying himself to her, he hasn't just risked his own reputation, he's essentially invited a snake into the family. If Mrs. Winterton gains George's affection, Oscar's role as her partner could backfire spectacularly. Instead of rising in society, Oscar could find himself dragged down with her, his entire legacy ruined. And let's be honest, Agnes is not going to let this slide quietly. She has always been the sharp-tongued guardian of tradition and reputation, and in season 4, she may become Bertha's unlikely ally in putting Mrs. Winterton back in her place. Watching Agnes and Bertha, 2 women who rarely see eye to eye, possibly join forces against a common enemy, could be one of the most exciting dynamics of the season. But Bertha's personal struggles won't exist in a vacuum. They will bleed into the larger family dynamics, especially with Marion and Larry's upcoming wedding. This wedding is supposed to be the unifying event, the moment where the Russells present a picture of harmony and stability to the world. But if Bertha is at war with her husband and battling a rival woman at the same time, how can she possibly hold the family together long enough to pull it off? The preparations themselves will be a minefield of drama, as every decision, from the guest list to the venue, becomes a symbol of power and influence. And Bertha, who once used events like balls and operas to crush her enemies, will now find herself fighting to simply keep appearances. George's role in this chaos cannot be underestimated. His bitterness toward Bertha and his obsession with finding his shooter will drive a wedge between them at the very moment when they need unity most. Every scene between them in Season 4 has the potential to explode into confrontation because both of them are too proud, too stubborn, and too powerful to back down. If George does find himself tempted by another woman, the tension will only intensify, leading to what could be some of the most heartbreaking and dramatic moments in the series so far. And for viewers, this is the kind of drama we live for. The blend of romance, betrayal, and ambition that keeps the Gilded Age at the top of its game. At the end of the day, Bertha's fight for George will define the emotional core of Season 4. Will she manage to win back his heart, or will her relentless pursuit of status finally cost her the one thing she cannot buy: true love? That's the question that will keep us on the edge of our seats, and one that promises to shake the very foundation of the Russell family. And with Mrs. Winterton waiting in the shadows, sharpening her claws, we can be sure that this battle is going to be brutal, thrilling, and unforgettable. While Bertha is preparing to fight for her marriage and her reputation, George is about to step into his own battlefield, one that could cost him his life. Season 3 ended with George surviving a shocking assassination attempt, and although he was saved thanks to Dr. Kirkland and Marion's quick action, the question still lingers. Who pulled the trigger, and why? For George, this is not just about justice. It's personal. The attempt on his life was a direct attack on his empire, his reputation, and his family. And if we know anything about George Russell, it's that he is not the type of man to let such an insult go unanswered. In Season 4, George is expected to devote himself completely to uncovering the truth, and this obsession will push him into dangerous territory. His list of enemies is long: rival businessmen, political adversaries, and even social climbers who resent his success. Any one of them could have been behind the attack, and George's determination to find out the truth will drag him deeper into the shadows of New York's elite. This is not a world of fancy dinners and glittering ballrooms. This is a world of hidden deals, betrayal, and ruthless ambition, where enemies do not hesitate to destroy one another. By chasing the shooter, George is entering a game where the rules are written in blood, and one wrong move could end his life for good. What makes this storyline so thrilling is the duality of George's character. On one hand, he is the master of strategy, a man who built his fortune through calculated risks and clever maneuvering. But on the other hand, he is a husband and a father who has already endured betrayal, loss, and disappointment. Season 4 will test whether George is strong enough to separate his emotions from his instincts, because if he lets anger guide him, he could become reckless. And recklessness is a luxury no one in his position can afford. This investigation isn't just about the shooter, it's about George's entire future. Every lead he follows, every person he interrogates, will bring him closer to the truth, but also closer to danger. And then there's the impact on his relationship with Bertha. As George throws himself into this investigation, Bertha will feel increasingly shut out of his world. Already on the edge of losing him, she will watch helplessly as his obsession grows, threatening not only his safety, but their already fragile marriage. For Bertha, this is a nightmare, because how can she compete with an invisible enemy? How can she win George back when he is consumed with revenge? If George succeeds in finding the shooter, it could either restore his confidence and bring them closer, or it could confirm his worst fears, that Bertha's ambition and their rise to the top have created too many enemies, making her indirectly responsible for the attempt on his life. Imagine the devastation if George, instead of reconciling, turns his anger back on Bertha. That possibility alone could make Season 4 the darkest chapter yet for the Russells. And let's not forget, George's investigation might not be limited to business rivals. Some rumors suggest that the attempt on his life could be connected to deeper political tensions or even to members of society who feel threatened by his rise. If that turns out to be true, then George isn't just fighting for his personal survival. He's fighting against forces much larger than himself. And if history has taught us anything, it's that when George Russell takes on powerful enemies, the fallout is never small. We could see financial markets shaken, political careers destroyed, and even entire social circles thrown into chaos. In other words, George's hunt for the truth could ignite a storm that sweeps through all of New York. This storyline also gives us an opportunity to see another side of George, a more vulnerable one. For all his wealth and power, he is still a man who came dangerously close to death, and that experience has to leave scars. Season 4 may show us moments of fear, doubt, and even paranoia creeping into his character. Will George trust anyone as he searches for the shooter, or will he begin to suspect everyone around him? And if he can't trust those closest to him, how long before his empire begins to crack from the inside? At the same time, his obsession with revenge could make him blind to the dangers lurking at home. While George hunts down his attacker, Mrs. Winterton may quietly move closer, using his vulnerability as an opening to step into his life. Bertha, already fighting to hold on to him, could find herself in a losing battle, her husband slipping further and further away. The cruel irony is that while George is busy protecting himself from outside threats, the real danger to his marriage may already be sitting across the dinner table. One thing is certain, George's pursuit of the truth will not be a side plot. It will be one of the driving forces of Season 4, shaping not only his own destiny, but the fate of everyone connected to him. From Bertha's desperate fight for his heart, to the Russells' public image, to the balance of power in New York society, everything hangs on what George discovers, and what he decides to do with that knowledge. If he uncovers the truth, will he use it to destroy his enemies? Or will the truth itself destroy him? That question will keep fans glued to the screen because in the Gilded Age, every victory comes with a price. Season 4 promises to take George Russell into uncharted territory, pushing him to the edge of both power and destruction. And as viewers, we know one thing for sure. When George is cornered, he doesn't back down. He fights. But this time, the fight could cost him everything. And that makes it the most dangerous game he has ever played. In the midst of all the chaos surrounding the Russells, the Gilded Age has always given us parallel storylines that balance the ruthless ambition of New York's high society with the more intimate struggles of characters trying to carve out a space for themselves. And no character embodies that balance better than Peggy. For 3 seasons, she has endured heartbreak, betrayal, and injustice, yet she has emerged stronger every time. Season 3 gave her a moment that fans had been waiting for. Dr. William Kirkland's heartfelt proposal. It was bold, it was public, and it was undeniably romantic. A bright spot in a season otherwise dominated by betrayals and near tragedies. For once, Peggy had a chance at happiness. But as we know, the Gilded Age never allows its characters to rest for long, and Season 4 is already shaping up to put Peggy's love story to the test in ways she never imagined. The problem, of course, is William's mother. From the moment she appeared, she made it clear that she disapproved of Peggy. Not because of Peggy's character or her accomplishments, but because of society's deep-rooted prejudices. She looks at Peggy and sees someone who does not belong in her world, someone she will never accept as her son's wife. That disapproval didn't stop William from proposing, but it did hang over Peggy's happiness like a dark cloud. And in Season 4, that cloud is about to burst. William's mother is not going to sit quietly while Peggy prepares for the wedding. She will scheme, manipulate, and interfere at every opportunity, determined to break them apart before they ever make it to the altar. What makes this storyline so compelling is the contrast it provides. On one side, we have Bertha, who uses ambition and manipulation to climb higher in society, often without caring about the consequences. On the other side, we have Peggy, who simply wants to love and be loved, and yet she faces obstacles just as formidable. The cruelty of this world is that no matter how hard Peggy works or how much she proves herself, there will always be people who see her as less than. And in season 4, we will see her fighting not only for her love with William, but for her right to belong. This fight may not involve lavish balls or society scandals, but make no mistake, it will be just as dramatic and just as heartbreaking. William himself is going to play a critical role in this. It's one thing to propose against his mother's wishes, but it's another thing entirely to stand by Peggy when the pressure intensifies. Season 4 will test his loyalty, his courage, and his ability to choose Peggy over the expectations of his family. Will he remain steadfast, or will he crack under the weight of his mother's disapproval? The answer to that question could decide not only Peggy's future, but also her faith in love itself. Because for Peggy, this is more than just a marriage. It's proof that she can have joy after all the pain she has endured. And then there's the larger significance of Peggy's storyline. The Gilded Age has always explored themes of progress and change set against the backdrop of America in the late 1800s. Peggy's love story with William is not just about romance, it's about breaking barriers, challenging norms, and pushing society forward, even when the odds seem impossible. In a way, Peggy's battle mirrors the larger battles happening all around her, battles for power, respect, and identity. And just like with the Russells, the outcome is far from certain. One of the most fascinating aspects of Peggy's arc in season 4 will be how her struggles intersect with those of the other characters. For example, Marion has always been close to Peggy, and now with her own wedding preparations underway, we may see the two women leaning on each other for support. While Bertha and George's marriage threatens to unravel, Peggy and Marion's friendship could provide a much-needed counterpoint, a reminder that loyalty and compassion still exist in a world consumed by ambition. At the same time, the contrast between Peggy's potential wedding and Marion's grand society wedding could highlight the vast differences in what love and marriage mean in different parts of society. But let's not fool ourselves. This is the Gilded Age. Happiness does not come without struggle, and Peggy's journey in season 4 will be filled with trials. William's mother may not be her only obstacle. There could be financial pressures, societal backlash, and even doubts creeping into Peggy's own heart. After so many years of pain, can she truly believe that she deserves happiness? Can she trust that William will not abandon her when things get difficult? These questions will weigh heavily on her, creating emotional tension that fans will feel deeply. And while Peggy's romance adds a sense of hope to the show, it also adds suspense, because the stakes are enormous. If she and William succeed, it will be a triumph not only for their love, but for everything Peggy represents: resilience, courage, and progress. But if they fail, the heartbreak will be devastating, both for Peggy and for fans who have rooted for her since the very beginning. That tension, that balance between hope and despair, is what makes her storyline so powerful. At the heart of it all, Peggy's story in season 4 will remind us why the Gilded Age is so captivating. It's not just about wealth and power, it's about people fighting against the odds, whether in drawing rooms filled with chandeliers or in quiet moments filled with love and pain. And as Peggy steps into her next chapter, we know one thing for sure: nothing will come easy. But maybe, just maybe, she will finally get the happy ending she deserves. If there is one event that season 4 is already being defined by, it is the wedding of Marion and Larry. After years of slow burn tension, misunderstandings, and reconciliations, the two finally found their way back to each other in season 3. Their reunion was one of the most satisfying payoffs of the season, a quiet yet powerful counterbalance to all the chaos surrounding the Russells. And now, with their wedding on the horizon, it feels like everything is leading to this moment. But as every fan knows, a wedding in the Gilded Age is never just a wedding. It's a battlefield, a performance, and in this case, perhaps even the glue that holds an entire family together. For Bertha, Marion's marriage to Larry offers both a challenge and an opportunity. Historically, Bertha has viewed Marion with suspicion. Someone she couldn't fully control, someone who represented independence in a way Bertha could never quite accept. But the tides are turning. Rumors suggest that in season 4, Bertha will make the strategic choice to befriend Marion, recognizing that this bond could help her hold the family together. With George drifting away and her marriage under fire, Bertha needs allies more than ever. And aligning herself with Marion might be the smartest move she's ever made. Instead of treating Marion as an outsider, she may finally welcome her in. securing not just Marion's loyalty, but also Larry's. If Bertha can play this card correctly, the wedding could become her last, best chance to rebuild the fractured Russell family. For George, however, the wedding represents something very different. Still haunted by betrayal and consumed with the hunt for his shooter, he may see the preparations as trivial compared to the battles he faces in the world of business and politics. And yet, whether he admits it or not, the wedding could serve as a reminder of what he stands to lose. Watching his son pledge himself to a woman he loves could stir something inside him, a longing for the marriage he once had with Bertha. This is where the emotional power of the season lies. The possibility that Marion and Larry's love could inspire George to rediscover his own. But of course, the opposite is just as likely. If George remains cold and distant, if he allows bitterness to rule him, then the wedding will only highlight the gulf between him and Bertha, driving them further apart. And then there are the larger stakes. This wedding isn't just about Marion and Larry, or even about the Russells as a family. It's about society itself. Weddings in the Gilded Age are public spectacles, displays of wealth, taste, and influence. Every detail, the dress, the guest list, the venue, is scrutinized, whispered about, and judged. For the Russells, this wedding is their chance to project strength and unity to a world that is already sensing cracks in their armor. If they succeed, they could silence their critics and cement their place at the very top of New York's elite. But if the cracks show, if George's bitterness leaks out, if Bertha falters, if scandals erupt, then the wedding could become the very thing that exposes their weakness to the world. HBO's decision to renew the series even before Season 3's finale aired shows just how much faith they have in this story. And for good reason. Ratings are climbing, viewership records are being broken, and fans are more invested than ever. Francesca Orsi, HBO's executive vice president, made it clear the Gilded Age is one of their crown jewels, and Season 4 is expected to be bigger, bolder, and even more dramatic. The release schedule has been relatively consistent so far. Season 1 in January 2022, Season 2 in October 2023, and Season 3 in June 2025. Following that pattern, fans can reasonably expect Season 4 to arrive in late 2026, with September being the most likely target. In television terms, that's not a long wait, especially for a show this ambitious. But let's not forget the final message of Bertha's Season 3 ball. The future belongs to America. That line wasn't just about national pride, it was about progress, ambition, and the relentless march of change. Season 4 will show us exactly what that future looks like. Who will ride the wave of progress, clinging to Lady Liberty's coattails, and who will be left behind, swallowed by ambition, betrayal, or heartbreak? Bertha's marriage, George's hunt for justice, Peggy's fight for love, and Marion's wedding all tie into this bigger theme. It's not just about personal victories, it's about survival in a world where change waits for no one. So as we look ahead to Season 4, one truth becomes clear. This will not be a season of rest. It will be a season of battles. Some fought in ballrooms, others in bedrooms, and still others in the shadows, where secrets and power collide. For the Russells, everything hangs in the balance. The wedding of Marion and Larry could save them, uniting the family, restoring faith, and silencing critics. Or it could be the spark that exposes their deepest cracks, ignites rivalries, and tears them apart forever. Either way, fans can expect one thing above all else: a season filled with suspense, heartbreak, and the kind of drama that only the Gilded Age can deliver.